Oh, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of First Canada Live, our Everybot reveal show. Oh, it's going to be a good one. I am super excited for all this. So let's not waste any time and let's get started and let's start this the proper way. As Canadians, it is important to recognize the land of which we are a part. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect upon the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we celebrate today. We acknowledge the elders and youth, past, present, and emerging, of all the land on which we work and live. We honor the ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We acknowledge this land out of respect for the Indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America. The Indigenous people have been gifted the role of caretakers of this land long before the arrival of settler peoples until today. But most importantly, we must remember the history of these lands and people has been tainted by poor treatment and a lack of friendship with the First Nations who've called Canada home long before it was given this name. This history is something that everyone is affected by. We are all treaty people here in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect on, and each of us is affected by that history in different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, it does not define our future. All right, folks. I need a co-host. The show is just like too important for me just to talk by myself. Like that just be a little bit weird. So I'd like to welcome out our youth council co-hosts from Team 1310, Runnymede Robotics from Toronto, and a member of the First Canada Youth Council. Say hello to Quinn. What up, Quinn?
Hello. Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Quinn, and I am the drive coach slash build lead for Team 1310 Runnymede Robotics. And I just like to say I am super excited for this Everybot reveal. I feel like it's going to be crazy. I don't know what to expect, you know?
It's going to be amazing. But Quinn, like we got to talk important things first. Like,
Mhm.
where is your youth council cowboy hat?
Oh, well, I was volunteering this past weekend, and so
Okay.
sadly, it has not made it out of my bag that I took to
Okay. Okay.
volunteering. Kind of got to unpack that.
Were
Yeah.
you volunteering at the FTC event in North Scarborough?
Yes, I was.
How was that?
It was amazing. Honestly, there were some pretty crazy scores, some pretty
Yeah.
crazy penalties, but you know what? I gotta say, it was my first FTC event and it did
Yeah.
not disappoint.
Big fan?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. What
100%.
volunteer role did you do?
I was I started off as a queuer and then I
Yeah.
kind of turned into like head queuer.
Okay.
So it was super exciting. I've never been a queuer before, so
Yeah.
it's definitely a very new experience for me because I've always been on, the other side of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was very fun.
So 10 out of 10 would recommend.
10 out of 10 would recommend. Definitely volunteer at an event near you.
All right. That's great advice for our folks out there. It's a very good time. But hey, like we said at the top, we are doing the Everybot show. We got members of Team 118 here to reveal the 2024 Everybot, see what it's all about. And that is going to be super exciting. Folks, if you have questions about the Everybot, feel free to drop them into chat. We will do our best to answer all the questions on the show. We might not be able to get to all of them, but we will try our best, folks. So drop them in chat for us. All right, folks. We have a lot that we want to talk about today, but it's really important. It is build season and it is stressful times, and it's important that every student, every mentor out there is taking care of themselves, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. And so, Quinn, you're here to talk to us a little bit about one of the Youth Council wellness moments.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, as the 2024 FRC season is starting to pick up, a lot of us kind of forget to take time to ourselves and kind of calm down. I mean, I'm guilty for it myself. And so, it's really important to really have a time where you can relax and keep yourself regulated during the season because it is a busy and stressful time. So, for me, between balancing build lead during build season and then drive coach during competition season, sorry, my dog is barking at my neighbor. Um, it's really busy for me during the on season. So I know that everyone has their own different ways for coping with their busy schedules. But mine so happens to fit with the music theme this year. I am a music lover at heart, which really made me love the crescendo season this year. I've been playing music since I was probably 3 years old, and it's always been an amazing calm down moment for me. Whether it's on the school bus coming back from competitions or coming home and playing a little bit of guitar after a good build session, it's really nice. So kind of I'm on a final note, I hope that everyone can find their own relaxing melody in this busy season that can help them keep themselves in tune.
Oh, Quinn, all the puns, all the puns. I love it. So what's your go-to relaxing song? Come
Ooh,
home, long day at the shop. You're just like, I am done. I just need to put some music on. What are you listening to?
oh yeah, true. I mean, I love some good like slow melancholy music.
Okay.
I will say that like playing wise, the best calm down song is definitely Blackbird by the Beatles.
Nice,
It's my
nice.
favorite song to
Blackbird
play.
songs in the dead of night. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. I learned it this past summer and I've kind of been playing it
yeah.
nonstop since. You know, you practice it so much, it's ingrained in your brain.
Yeah. For me, like I'm gonna go relaxing. Bob Marley. Bob Marley
Oh
is
yeah.
very good for just kind of like chill, lay down, or like if I just kind of want to like be in my own fields. Dashboard
Yeah.
Confessional. Dashboard Confessional's another one right there.
Oh,
Hit some
awesome.
of the emo tracks right there going on.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you for the wellness moment. Hey, folks, take a
No
moment to listen to
problem.
some music. Hey, everyone in the Twitch chat who's being super impatient right now, listen to some music, relax. Everybot reveal will probably be getting to it in about 5-10 minutes tops because we have some news updates to get to first. Very, very important. For our Canadian teams tuning in right now, for all teams who are tuning in right now, did you opt out of the Kid Apart Drive Base or the Black Tote? If so, you got some vouchers. If you opted out of the Kid Parts Drive, you got a $450 Andy Mark voucher. If you opted out of the Black Tote, 125 for Andy Mark, 125 for Rev. For our Canadian teams, these Andy Mark vouchers can be redeemed at Andy Mark in the US, or you can redeem them at Studica in Canada. So that's a good tip for you to save on some shipping. And all the Rev vouchers for Canadian teams can be redeemed at revrobotics.ca, the Canadian side of that. So just a reminder, don't let those vouchers go unused. Sometimes you forget about them or whatever, but like that's free money, man. And we don't pass up free money here. You know what I mean? All right. Next up, our show schedule. Thank you, everyone who has been here, been tuning in. First Candle Live, we're going to take a little bit of a break after tonight's episode. We are not coming back until February, end of February. And then we're going to go every week after competitions, boom, 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 event recaps, event recaps. And so the last weekend of February, we're going to bring on some referees, kind of deep dive into the rules of the game, how to manage the question box, that sort of stuff. Then every week afterwards, we'll be reviewing every single event that happens here in Ontario. So going to be a good time. Scholarships, folks, for all Canadian students out there. The Don Bosey Leadership and Innovation Award, the Canadian Women in STEM Award, and the First Canada Indigenous Award. The due dates for all these scholarships are on January 31st, folks. January 31st, that is coming up soon. Apply, apply, apply. And if you are aged 9 to 14, so a little bit younger, or maybe you know someone aged 9 to 14 who has been on a first team and is Black or Indigenous, have them consider applying for the Mark and Rona Brenner Leadership Fund. It's a great opportunity to get some funding for your team and some mentorship opportunities. Also, by the way, folks, if you want to know our full show schedule, subscribe, like, hit all the buttons. Also, if you want to listen to us as a podcast, we're available on Spotify. Check the link in chat. And for all the information on scholarships, go to firstroboticscanada.org/scholarships. We have so much info, Quinn. It's just like I got to tell everyone all this stuff quickly.
I know.
Uh
It's
the
amazing.
the Ontario team Slack, folks. If you're a team in Ontario, you want some help with your robot, you're like not sure what to do. Fastest way to get an answer is post it in Slack, and someone will respond right away. So it's a great place. You're troubleshooting your Limelight. You're trying to figure out how to assemble your swerve gearboxes. Post it in Slack. Someone will help you out. And if you are a First Canada alum, which Quinn, you will be in a year and a half,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Want to check out what First Canada alumni are up to. So check out
Of course.
firstroboticscanada.org/alumni. You can join our LinkedIn group, join our mailing list, learn about the Alumni Corner. You can find out about getting first alumni stickers
Yes.
or
Yes.
buttons. Yeah, yeah, yeah. These are pretty dope stickers, right?
Oh, they are. The first alum stuff is the best. I always walk past it at competitions. I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't wait to grab some of that stuff when I'm older.
This year they are getting lanyards. So,
Whoa,
did
stepping it
I might have
up.
just spoiled the surprise right there. I might have just spoiled the surprise. Someone just asked me in chat, how do I remember my last name? I don't know. I've had it for like 43 years. So, like, it
Yeah.
just kind of sticks there. Hey, you know how old I am now. Great, great. Spoiler alert. All right, folks. We are almost ready to bring out our Everybot folks, so we're going to be doing that in just a moment, but we gotta pay some bills here. So let's take a look at a word from one of our sponsors, 3M.
So first robotics competition is the epitome of the robotics competitions here in Canada. It's an opportunity for high school students to get involved in the engineering design of an entire robotics system.
People think robotics is all about building the robot, right? But building the robot is only half the challenge. Building the robot is actually a vehicle for you to build your own self.
For our Canadian manufacturers to stay competitive, there's a lot of automation and robotics that have to go into our manufacturing facilities. So the skills that the kids are learning in this competition hit that mark spot on.
There's definitely the technical ones. You know, I've learned how to do CAD design. I've learned how to work machines. But one of the really, really big ones that I really like is and I think it's really important in this world, is I've learned how to work with a team. Without being able to work as a team going into industry, it's not going to work out.
There are absolutely skills that the students are using today that are things that we use in professional careers that have to do with STEM. They are learning how to communicate, they're learning how to collaborate, they're learning how to think outside the box so that they're not limiting themselves to one thing. They're getting to do coding, marketing, design, engineering, science, the whole 9 yards all together.
It really teaches you all these different skills that you wouldn't think that you would know. It teaches you, how to work with other people, how to do soft skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, all that kind of stuff.
Some of our alumni have gone on to receive excellent scholarships at top-tier universities, and because of that, they've started getting known well by top-tier companies, which allows our brand to carry on as they work for large technological companies in the programming sector, in the automation sector. It's really interesting to see where we end up.
All right, thank you 3M for all your support of First Canada programs and teams. All right, Quinn, where are you? Where you at, Quinn? I lost my co-host. Oh my goodness.
I'm back.
There you are.
I'm back.
Quinn, do I have to put like one of those like child things on so I don't
know,
lose you in
right?
the mall? Come on.
Of
Thank
course,
you,
of
thank you.
course.
All right, maybe we'll have to do that in an event this year. Like all the youth council members with their cowboy hats can all be
Oh, yeah.
linked up to Joanna and Jess.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, how are you going to find us? It's
Exactly.
great. You can
That's where you
spot
can turn
us
the
in a
lights
big
on the
crowd.
hat. Turn the lights
Oh,
on
yeah.
the hat. Yeah.
The question is, which mode? There's a
Ooh.
couple.
Oh, mode 3.
Mode 3? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't
I
know
think
what
that's my favorite. I use
There
that
you
one
go.
all the time.
Folks, if you haven't seen these youth council hats, just wait. We'll do it for the next time we got a youth council member on. So back in
Oh,
February.
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
folks, let's not waste any time here. Let's start bringing out our guests. First of all, we have a first alum from Team 1023, the Bedford Express from Michigan, current mentor for Team 118, the Robonauts from League City, Texas, mechanical engineer for the NASA Johnson Space Center's Dexterous Robotics team. Say hello to Brandon Sidoti. How's it going, Brandon?
Hey everybody, it's going well. I finally caught up some sleep, so I'm feeling a lot better.
Dude, we're like reunited, former workplace to here, man. This is great.
A small world.
Right. So I heard you've been staying up late. How has the experience been?
It's been a lot, let me tell you. This is my second year doing Everybot, and this one was a more of a front-loaded rush. So we were up late almost every single night to kind of avoid. Last year we had to stay up, as an entire team, all the way up until the deadline, until 3, 4 a.m. And this year we kind of front loaded that. So we got maybe, we went to bed early at like 1, 2 a.m. In the last couple of days. It was great.
Yeah. Hey, students out there, remember, get lots of sleep. Get lots of sleep. Okay. I'm sure that's what the advice that Brandon's giving you right now. He's not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially during the season.
Please, during the season, please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Quinn just like, yeah, no chance, Karthik, no chance. Okay, folks. Next up, we got another first alum, current mentor of Team 118, currently studying mechanical engineering at the University of Houston and working as a robotics mechanical designer for lunar exploration rovers at NASA's Johnson Space Center. Say hello to Ryan Stockton. What up, Ryan?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Ryan. I love the white hat, like the white Robonauts hat. It just pops so well. You all have some of the best swag out there. Brandon, show off the hoodie you're wearing today. Oh yeah, he's got the Everybot logo on there. That is so nice. So nice. Yes.
So nice.
The sleep is for old people. Yes. Sleep is for everyone, folks. It's a good thing. Ryan, so we asked Brandon about how his experience was. How are you feeling about this year's Everybot?
I'm pretty excited about it. I think we made some good decisions as far as making the robot valuable on an alliance at any level competing in this game. And I think we've learned a lot over the last few years and lessons on making the robot easier and easier to build. And I think we were able to incorporate a lot of those in this robot.
And Ryan, you've been doing this since 2018, right?
Yeah, correct. Ethan Reed and I have been around since we kind of revamped the Everybot program back in 2018, condensing it to the first week of the build season.
I'm gonna like ask like the typical wannabe journalist question, but back in 2018, did you ever envision the Everybot being as program affecting as it is today?
Absolutely not. You know,
Yeah.
we had just graduated. We were alum of 118. We wanted to be able to give back in some way, and we were like, well, this seems like a good way to help some teams. We did not realize how many that some teams would end up being.
It's not just some teams now because the Everybot was part of the influence and impetus to providing a kit bot from first this year in every single kit for every team who wanted one. And so this is like massive culture change. So we want to thank you all for that. And I don't think we should waste any more time. I think everyone in chat wants to see it. So let's take a look at the 2024 Everybot. There is normally music in this video, but the Twitch copyright vultures are circling. So we're going to play it without the music. Let's take a look at the Everybot for this year. All right, folks, there it is. There's your 2024 Everybot. We got it can do score, it can do the amp, it can do the hanger. I lost the NASA folks. There they are, Brandon and Ryan right there. Hey, congratulations. Fabulous, fabulous robot. So lots of questions. Folks, if you have questions in chat, drop them in chat. One of our producers will bring it over and then we'll try and get to it at some point in the show. But I want to start at the very beginning, strategic design. What was your priority list for this year's Everybot, and how did you choose the subsystems you did?
So it was pretty clear, like kind of before and after that immediate amplification update, that the amp might be the most impactful logo in FRC history. And it's also deceptively difficult, which is why we came to the conclusion that like a great Everybot needed to be able to score in the amp effectively. So we went with that roller claw design to get that the amp in there. Additionally, we also had, there's a climb this year. It's a little bit different on the chain, but we also had, a climb back in 2020, and we thought it might be a cool challenge. One, to see if we could do it, and two, if teams already had the 2020 Everybot climb, maybe they can modify that, or they have the know-how to build it already. So that was a fun challenge to kind of get it back in there and save some money.
Okay, nice. So amp was a priority, and the hanger came in there. Did you think much about a floor intake?
Yeah, absolutely. But we made the decision like early on for the kitbot that heavily influence our design process. And we decided that a floor intake might not be the most cohesive mechanism to add to a relatively unmodified kitbot.
Ryan, thoughts on the strategic design process for this year's robot?
Yeah, so we kind of knew going into the season that we would strive to make to add to the kitbot as much as possible. We really didn't want to go off and go build a whole separate design. We really wanted to build off the kitbot, and that's kind of what led to the decisions we made. Like Brandon said, the amp is super valuable in this game, and climbing, we think we had a pretty good climber back in 2020, so it kind of looks a lot like that one. So we knew we could pull off climbing in this game, and yeah, that's what led to that.
Quinn, you got a question for Ryan and Brandon?
Yeah, sure. So we have a question from chat, from Cardo Plists
Don't try and
3674.
read people's Twitch names. It never
Okay.
ends well.
Sounds good. Were those weights on the front of the Everybot? Or like
So
what is that stuff? Yeah.
those are actually on the what we consider the rear, but those are ballast, and that is meant particularly for the climb because we wanted to keep the kitbot relatively unmodified, and we don't want to lose any of the functions that the kitbot already has. So we had to move that climber pretty far back. So we had to add enough ballast to, even out that the robot on the climb, get the CG right
Yeah.
underneath that hook.
Of course. You don't want it falling off or anything,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. So one thing is like we're talking about all the upgrades that you've done and the additional functionality, but were there any changes to the core kitbot, gearing, anything with the shooter, any adjustments, and if there weren't any, do you have any tips for people who are putting that kitbot together?
The only thing we had to do was cut off like a 1 inch wide by 4 inch strip of polycarb at the top right of the kitbot shooter to mount the roller claw. But other than that, we didn't do any modifications to the shooter whatsoever. We do think it is worth putting resources into trying to either get more power into the shooter, to be able to shoot from more areas of the field, and also to maybe be able to tune it to accept torn up notes. So we did find that we had a lot less accuracy with the kitbot shooter with our torn up note. New notes, it's great. It can shoot from all around the subwoofer, but with the torn up note, it definitely struggles. And that's a lot due to the texture difference of the note. They compress a lot differently whenever the skin is off of them, because that really holds it in a consistent. But yeah, that's kind of what we had.
Okay.
Awesome.
So looking at the amp mechanism, tell us a little bit about it. How does it work? What are the details? What's going on there?
So the amp mechanism came about because we were looking at, so the first thing that you should do every time that you design a robot, right, is to look at past games. And there's like a list of games that have used rings, right? There's some that come to mind. FRC, we haven't seen it since 2011. So 13 years ago, that's wild.
That's wild.
Wow.
But 13 years ago, we saw Logomotion, and before that, 2007, like Rack and Roll. Then you go to FTC, you had Ultimate Goal, Ring It Up in 2012, Quad Quandary, VRC had Roundup, Tipping Point. All of these had rings that went from like essentially a robot that had a basket on it, and you put them onto a post. And so we were looking at that, and one of I forget who it was, went up to the source, had a post, and was like, what'll happen if the source delivers it directly to a post? And that's how kind of the roller claw came about, because not only did it accept the note, but it also kind of reoriented it, fell onto the post, and then fell into the direction that we actually want to score it in. So the way that we got that to actually work and have a controlled surface on it is have that single, two wheels, the single roller on the bottom. It kind of holds it into the pocket of the roller claw. And then once it's all the way backed up into the bottom of the pocket, that roller continues to roll, and it wants to actually reorient the note and put it downwards.
That's okay. So when I watch the video, like all I'm seeing untrained is just like, oh yeah, you're slamming in, it's going in, but it's actually the motion from the roller is rotating it to allow it for that downward angle into the amp.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
is super smart.
That's
Wow. Okay.
amazing.
I did not pick that up on the first few times I watched that.
Yeah,
So
you can kind of see it once like they start cycling a little bit,
yeah.
and it's really useful, especially when scoring in the amp, because if you hit it and it's not the right angle, it's gonna come out right. So it was great design on your part.
It's interesting because one of the things I've been saying is that there's 4 keys to this game in terms of differentiation. There's going to be a lot of robots at similar levels, and one of them is amp time, as in how a lot of teams are going to get to the amp and then fiddle a lot to get their note out and then leave it. And the best teams are going to be the teams like, remember last year there were some teams who slam into the double substation, grab the cone, and just out, just the speed to
Yep.
go in and out. And this amp take, if we're going to call it the amp intake or whatever we're going to call it or whatever, has that ability just to go in and out with that roller thing there. That is okay. See, I get excited when I like discover something new. So that is super cool. So uh on that note, ha ha ha. Was there any thought at trying to modify the kitbot shooter to do the amps, or why did you go with a separate mechanism?
So modularity, really. We did definitely, I mean, probably the first thing that everybody does when they get the kit bot is try to shoot it into the amp. They're like, what if it just barely kind of dribbles out and then falls
Yeah.
right in? And, we kind of had, varying success with that mechanism or with just using it that way. But it wasn't robust. It wasn't a easy lineup. It was very left-right dependent. So we went with a separate mechanism, not only just to ensure that you could score it every single time and like kind of hold the note on the front of the robot, but also like modularity. If you want to mount this, I actually have one here. You want to mount this mechanism,
Yeah.
anywhere on your robot. It can be over here. It can be over here. It can be on the back of your robot. It doesn't matter as long as it has the correct height to receive the note. It will be a successful mechanism.
I think that's also neat because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of teams out there who already working on their own shooter design or whatever, and they've figured out like, wait, I got a decent way of scoring in the speaker, but I haven't figured out the amp just yet. Hey, like, it could be like the Everybot intake last year, which just ended up on so many robots that weren't Everybots.
Oh,
Yeah,
I hope so.
exactly.
That made me so happy when I saw how many
Yeah.
teams adopted the intake last year.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
All
awesome.
right. Does someone want to tell us a little bit about the hanger, how it works? And I guess a question is, how important is the COG for the hang to get this right?
So first off, the hanger is very, very similar to the 2020 Everybot climber. It's actually a little simpler in the fact that the 2020 Everybot climber had to start low, extend high, and then retract back to lift up the robot. This one can start up high. So we don't, it's all a lot simpler. It's just spring loaded up and a winch down. If you did want to put this climber on a robot you already designed to go underneath the stage, you could very easily modify it to start down, extend back up like the 2020 climber, and then retract again. So we do believe this design can be useful on a non-Everybot robot that's designed to fit under the stage. And the center of gravity is important to getting it not touching the floor and to hang relatively level. So you saw in the video, we hung next to another robot and it does swing a little bit, but that's why we have it's about 40 pounds of weights on the back, but a lot better attached to the robot than I would say than last year's ballast. And it's not because of last year we were worried about tipping. It's just about getting the climb CG right. So if you had this on a robot, this climb on a robot, and you could actually put the climber centered on the CG, then you wouldn't really need the weights at all. It's just like Brandon said, we didn't want to modify the kitbot shooter, so we kind of had to put the climber further back than we would have liked.
Hey, Brandon, we got a request for the side profile of the amp mechanism, as if it's like a little model right now, There you go.
Kind of hard to see. I did try to
Yeah.
see if we can fit it all the way in there. Single motor mechanism, just one kind of swooping arc to allow the note to come in. I wish I would have brought a note, hindsight.
They're in very high demand, man. I don't know if you can get away with that.
Oh, I would have definitely had to steal it and people wouldn't have been happy. But yeah, so it kind of comes in this way and then rotates down. It sits up against this deflector plate and this rod here to hold it at the right angle to introduce it to the amp and score it.
Awesome.
Very, very cool. We saw and Ryan, you mentioned it, 2 robots on a chain, so a double harmony, as we're calling it. Maybe I just coined that right now. Can you fit 3 Everybots on a chain?
We didn't try.
Okay.
We have in the video there was a kit bot, an Everybot, and Everybot on a swerve. So
Yeah.
if we build one more climber, we might be able to try it out.
All right. As you're going through, maybe drop a link to that in your Discord or on Chief or whatever. I think people would be curious to see that. Hey, folks, this has been a great discussion. We have lots of questions from chat. We got more things to talk about, but we're going to do that in just a moment after we come back with a word from one of our sponsors, Honda. Okay, we're back. So, when we talk about the Everybot, we talk about competitive, affordable, and efficient. So, Ryan, Brandon, what makes this robot competitive?
Yeah, so we believe we got the strategy right this year. First, gave us a robot that can do the speaker decently well. And by adding in the amp capability and being able to climb, you have a lot of flexibility in how you want to play the game with your alliance partners in every match. If you're going into a match and an Everybot is the only speaker shooting robot, you have the capability to have your partners score in the amp and do other things in the match. But if you're playing with super awesome speaker shooter, you can run amp cycles the whole match, and there's a lot of flexibility in that.
I think also this year, as we're still trying to figure this game out, all of us are. But I do think that having the versatility to do both, I'm such a proponent of specialist robots and such. But this year's game, every cycle is a different part of a match, and it's not just like, oh yeah, just cycle, just score as many things as you want. So having that ability to flip between the two, and especially to do the amp as efficiently as this does, I think that's pretty neat. What about affordability? Oh, sorry, Quinn.
Oh yeah, no, I just wanted to chime in and say, being able to do both, especially from like a strategy perspective, is having an Everybot that's so efficient with the amp, especially with amplifying the speaker, is going to be a great asset to have in an alliance. So yeah.
All right,
Anyway,
let's talk
Karthik,
about.
take it away.
No, thank you, Quinn. Let's talk about affordable. So teams, if they opted in, they got a kit bot this year. That is a good chunk of this robot. How much more does it cost to put the rest of this robot together?
Yeah, so last year our budget was $1,500 in addition to what came in the kit of parts. Well, like you said, more stuff came in the kit of parts. So this robot is only around $900 in addition to what came in the kit.
Wow.
Awesome.
After last year, I know there was some issues sourcing certain parts.
Mm-hmm.
This year, anything the team should be aware of to start ordering now, or is it stuff that's you feel is readily available?
Yeah, we put a lot of effort into designing the robot to be kind of supplier agnostic. There's no part on the robot that is only available from a single FRC supplier, whether that be gussets or gearboxes. Brandon's roller claw is designed to accept a variety of gearboxes, motors, things like that. So yeah, last year we did have some of those single point failures as far as supplying gearboxes and stuff like that. We really want to avoid that this year. So we don't think teams should have any issues building a kit bot either identical to what's in the video or using some of the alternate parts we have in the bill of materials.
Sweet. That is great to hear. And that $900 price point is fantastic for teams.
Amazing. Yeah.
That is huge. Talk about efficient. What's efficient about this robot?
Yeah, mostly simplicity. We were pretty passionate this year. It's kind of one of our lessons learned, is making the robot somewhat modular. Let's say you're going to your first event and all you got done was the kit bot. Oh, well, after that event, maybe you can go add on the amp scoring mechanism or the climber. Whereas last year, if you built the arm and didn't finish the intake, that wasn't really helpful to you. So we really wanted to focus on modularity and ease of building the robot. So, and also that also means that these mechanisms can be useful on non-Everybot designs. They're not super integrated into the Everybot design, and they can be cut and paste onto other robots that teams are building.
I love that. Hey, folks in chat, I know we we got to speak two languages here. We got a lot of Americans and a lot of Canadians in the chat. So that's $900 US, folks. $900 US. So we're talking about like 1250 Canadian,
Yeah,
just
about, yeah.
in case, or the currency conversions right there. So we talked about affordable, efficient, and we talked a little bit about strategy. So a team has already finished their kit bot. So then they get the Everybot, they do the Everybot sort of stuff. Are there next steps that you'd recommend for a team who wants to take this a little bit further? We saw so many cool variants of the Everybot last year. Where would you go next if you were doing this?
Yeah, so Swerve is always going to be a great upgrade in any game that is not a like a rough terrain game like 2016. And there we did build an Everybot on a Swerve, and we'll be posting more videos and resources on that throughout the week. But you don't have to have Swerve for the robot to be competitive. The robot will be a fantastic member of an alliance as is, or with just parts of the robot. You know, if you only have time to build the climber and the shooter, then that's still a very useful robot in this game. Another thing would be floor intake. Brandon kind of touched on it. We thought about it, and we did not really want to put our resources into doing that. We know it does look possible to put a floor intake on the kitbot shooter, but not without modifying it more than we were comfortable doing for every bot.
That makes a lot of sense because like looking at the kitbot design, I was like, how are you going to toss an intake on there? Like, because it's not really channeled for that or something like that. But the source has a lot of notes. Is the source like, do you have like that store in the States, or is that just a Canadian thing? The source?
I've not heard of the source.
Okay, so Radio Shack in Canada became
What?
the source, and so it's like, oh yeah, like the source has a lot of things. Yeah, like you can get batteries there, you can get whatever, but yeah, the source on the field just has notes, but it
Yeah,
has a lot of them, and so and
yeah.
also with the way that you accept from the source for both for the kitbot shooter and for the Everybot amp device, it's always making your cycle to the same place. On that human load thing, is it just you line up with the amp device and it just slides in, or how much precision does there have to be for the human player?
So definitely you have to get your bumpers aligned when you are, feeding the kit bot portion of the Everybot. The shooter has a very little amount of misalignment. With the amp roller or the roller claw that we have on there, even in the video, I'm sure people when they rewatch it, they'll see a couple of times we actually showcase that it's off by a good 15, 20, sometimes 30 degrees, as long as you can get close enough that the note touches those roller wheels, it will pick up that note. It might look a little weird at first, but it pulls it in and reorients it every single time.
Awesome.
Very cool. The tolerances are like the best thing ever when you're dealing with an intake, so that is fabulous. Um, One of the big things where the Everybot has made a difference has been for teams who don't have a lot of shop resources. So are there can this be done once again for a team who has limited shop resource, might just be using hand tools? And if so, or if not so, is there like a specific part that's like the hardest part the team should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so the roller call that Brandon showed, Andy Mark will be supplying that. That will be making the polycarbonate parts, and just like they did last year with the intake kit. That's probably the hardest part. You could make those by hand if you really wanted to, but just like last year's intake and the 2022 passive climber, it is difficult and it does take a lot of time. Everything else, the box tubes are pretty tolerant to plus or minus quarter inch is definitely doable. Last year, we definitely had some parts that were, had to be tighter tolerance than that, and it was difficult for teams to build. But we strive to make it pretty tolerant to a variety of manufacturing techniques. You can build most of the box tubes. You can cut it with a hacksaw. If you have a bandsaw, great. If you have anything more advanced than that, even better. But yeah, still can be built with fairly common shop tools, hand drill, hacksaw, things like that.
Very cool. Shout out to Andy Mark for producing those plates. Also, go to my
Yeah.
boy JJ and go to FabWorks probably. They can cut something out. Send sponsors
Oh
a few
yeah.
first teams now as well. So
Mm-hmm.
those resources are it's kind of cool the level of resources that are available.
It's amazing.
Is there anything that makes you nervous about this design?
Definitely the ballast. Every single time we add ballast to a robot, an Everybot, it may or may not, be put together the best, or you might take a big hit and the all of the weights that you've added have gone flying. So because that's the part that made us the most nervous, we spent a lot more time this year about the mounting method. So we used you'll see when you see the instructions for the Everybot, we used chassis cutoffs, that already came in the kit. We grabbed some like galvanized pipe from Home Depot, set those on there, and we made it very plate agnostic, I guess. You go to, if maybe you can steal some plates from your local gym, or maybe like that's a sponsorship opportunity, or the school has a gym, maybe you can take down those. It doesn't really matter what it is. We do just recommend about 40 pounds on the back, and then secure it the best you possibly can.
Awesome. A question for that is there any maintenance that you can see happening with the ballast, like something you should look out for, like certain things that may need to be tightened after a match or like anything like that?
Yeah, certainly. The way we have it adhered to the robot is a bunch of large zip ties to kind of take all of those plates and make them one large, cylinder of weight. And then we took zip ties around that, big zip ties again, attached that to the pipe that holds them. And then we took a bunch of electrical tape that's a little bit more, shock absorbent, and
Oh
wrapped
yeah.
all the way around that. So, if you take a big hit or you run into the amp or the source, they don't come flying into your robot. They kind of
Oh,
sit exactly where
yeah.
they're supposed to be.
Perfect. I mean, it's not a robot without zip ties, so you know.
You're saying what we're all thinking.
There you go.
Exactly.
We got a lot of questions in chat. We also had some questions on Chief Delphi from the thread over there. From our friend Lil Lavery, with the advent of the first Kitbot, what motivated the Everybot team to continue designing trading at Everybot for the 2024 game? How did the Kitbot influence your design processes and decisions?
Yeah, so from our conversations with Colin in the off season, we kind of understood that the Kitbot was going to be a does one thing robot. It was not going to play multiple parts of the game. And so we knew that we still had building an Everybot would still be useful to make a robot that was even more strategically valuable to an alliance. So we wanted to be able to expand on that like we have in the past couple of years. We usually have Everybot does 2 or 3 things. And also we believe that more resources is always going to be good. So we wanted to produce high quality build instructions and things like that for teams to follow to be able to build Everybot. So we knew we still had a place kind of in the community doing this.
Another question from Chief is, how would you compare the Everybot to, say, the Quokka's RI3D bot from Australia?
They're very different. And one of the parts that make it different is, the Everybot team decided that the Kitbot was an integral part of the Everybot design. Because of this, we had to make the Everybot an easily upgradable like add-on to the Kitbot. Had the Kitbot not existed, we probably would have landed on something kind of similar to what the Quokka's actually landed on. We had a concept very early on that had that intake on a pivot that would go down and then actually become the shooter. But kind of what Brian said, more resources is rarely a bad thing. So having something different is not necessarily a bad thing. Teams that may not require the same amount of resources could, definitely entertain the idea of like a Quokka clone.
Quokka clone. We have two
Quokka
little
clone.
Quokkas. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Quinn, what's chat say? You got some questions from chat for
Oh
our
yeah,
guests?
let's get some chat questions. So, can the Everybot score in the trap? And if so, is there any way that you guys think that it could be modified if it cannot? Like teams can add on to it.
We definitely did not prioritize the trap. When we did our strategic analysis, we decided, like amp probably number one besides like drive around. We already had the ability to shoot into the speaker. And then trap was one of those things that would be a nice to have rather than a
Yeah.
requirement.
Of course, it's definitely difficult to incorporate with trying to keep it kind of as like, I don't like as simple as possible so that it kind of complicates a lot of things, I feel
So
like.
tying on to
Absolutely.
that, a question from one of our very dedicated mentors up here, Mr. Thomas Steele. How hard do you think it would be to use the roller claw for a trap mechanism? Do you have any like theories, any like ideas for like someone enterprising who wants to try it?
As long as you can get the roller claw somewhere near the trap, it may be able to do it. That was not something we prioritized. We didn't really test it a whole lot. But if you can get it there, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I think that's the key is you have to change up the climber geometry to allow yourself to get the height, but the
Yeah.
motion, especially since it's an active motion, which I did
Yeah.
not realize, maybe will open the door? Question mark.
Mm,
It's interesting.
yeah.
Any weaker points on the robot to keep an eye on after each match? So like if this was your robot for the season, what's going to be on your post-match checklist?
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say we kind of talked about the weights, just making sure the weights are still secure to the robot. Possibly if you're intaking torn up notes, maybe want to clean off the wheels on the roller claw. Generally, in a lot of games, cleaning them off will ensure they're always the most grippy as possible. But other than that, not really. We definitely think this is going to be a more robust design than last year for sure, but definitely other previous Everybots because everything on the robot is within the frame perimeter. You don't have to worry about some intake coming out, getting hit by somebody, smashing it into a wall. While the roller claw could hit the source if you slam into it really fast. It's all polycarb. It's pretty forgiving.
Here's a really good question. If you're going for a swerve drive like Blinky, one of our favorite Pac-Man ghosts, although Clyde was always my favorite, the
We have a
orange
Oh
one.
Clyde.
yeah.
Clyde is there's like a
Love Clyde.
backstory for each of the ghosts, and Clyde has like low self-confidence. So Clyde sometimes when chasing Pac-Man would just like give up halfway and switch in the other direction.
Oh,
Which if you played
Oh,
Pac-Man before, it's like, oh yeah, that does happen
that
sometimes. Like
does
if you go scump,
happen.
it's always Clyde. Clyde just a little not confident in himself. It's like, oh, I can't get to Pac-Man. I'm just gonna go home. So just think about that. But like if you're doing like a Blinky, do you need to modify the base of the Kitbot shooter?
It really depends on your implementation. So on Blinky, we had to modify it slightly. The rear slanted 1x1 extrusion there, we had to cut down a little bit just so it would fit in combination with the PackBot chassis that we already had. But it really does totally depend on how you implement it.
Oh, questions just they're
Same.
just like firing in from chat here. They're just coming all over the place. Uh
100%.
did you change the gearing from the Kitbot? And regardless of that, what's the top speed? Do you know?
we did not change it, and
Okay.
I do not know what it is.
I think it's 14 feet per second.
It's quick. It is very
Yeah.
quick.
I think you're right.
Feels fast, eh?
Hmm.
Oh yeah. We have another question. Is the Everybot able to go under the stage? Like, is it able to be either modified or kind of able to do that?
Yeah,
You could go ahead, Ryan.
okay. Yeah. The Kitbot itself does not go under the stage. So since we built off of the Kitbot,
Mhm.
our robot does not go under the stage. We do believe you could modify the Kitbot to make it a little shorter, but then you may not be able to have the roller claw mechanism at the right height unless you actuate it. So if you really are passionate about going to the stage, we believe the design could be modified to be able to do that. But as built, it does not go under the stage.
Uh, Great comment in chat. It can go under, but then it can't come back out,
Yeah.
which is a way to
That's
look
probably
at it.
true.
Little stuck.
Another question in chat. This is a good one. I'd love to hear your insights on this. From my good friend Dunkaroo, do you have an empty field cycle count? Have you run 2 minutes 30 seconds of cycles with this boy or girl yet?
We have
Robot?
not yet, but we do have the three, the Kitbot, the Everbot, and the Everybot on a Swerve, and we do plan coming up here to the exact same as we did last year. A full match with the Everybot, just to see like what those differences are. So we will. We don't currently have that, but we will.
Climber question. Oh yeah, we're getting some good questions here from Space
Right?
Bacon Zero. I don't know what Space Bacon tastes like, but does the climber slide down towards the middle of the chain after hanging? So like if
Uh,
you were to hang off center, will your robot shift towards the center?
it might move a little bit. We found that it depends on what the orientation of the link that you actually kind of hook on to. If it's one of those vertical links, a lot of times it will slide down to the next horizontal link, if we want to talk about them that way. And then, we added to the grip there, we put, I forget what the tape is called that comes in the kit almost every single year.
Linerless rubber splicing tape. We call it magic tape because it's been on
Oh.
every Robonauts robot for like a decade at solving problems.
We call it self-amalgamating tape because I think that's what the McMaster had a part number for that at some point. And yeah, we just like 1114 back in like the 2008 era just everything. Just like,
Oh,
yeah, and
yeah.
want to pick something up, self-amalgamating tape. I'm like, what does that mean? It's like it amalgamates by itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, you know, because Canadian teams are very obsessed with Team 4907's robot from 2 years ago. Can the Everybot jump?
Not quite,
Not quite.
but
Okay.
you are welcome to make one that jumps.
Yeah, jumping Everybot is something I would like to see.
Yeah.
Um, why was the climber designed to swing it the way it did in the video?
Well, it depends on what part of the video you're talking about. It doesn't really swing, but it is a little bit, forgiving with your
Okay.
lineup. So the robot itself swings, when it's on there,
Yeah.
because it's only connected by a single point. The very last shot where it does the harmonized climb, that I believe the vertical 2x1 that holds that the PVC pipe that ends up being the climber, that actually kind of moves out of the way. We did that sort of intentionally, just to allow, you didn't want a super rigid structure there, and all of the forces actually go through the ratchet strap that goes down to the winch of the climber. So allowing a little bit of play, a little bit of movement there allowed for a not completely rigid structure to be destroyed if you drove into the chain a little bit too hard.
Uh,
Amazing.
on that note, how far to the right or the left of center can you make the climb from?
I had this number. I do not remember it off the top of my head, but it's a pretty good margin. It's enough to allow two Everybots to sit side by side, and you still have enough reach to clear the chain.
Okay. Yeah, so it has the height, just slam into it. How long to get off the ground?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. Again, I'm sorry. Just be like, I don't
No, no,
know.
no, no, no,
But
no, no, no,
Oh, no,
right.
of course.
Brandon, we're just
what you see in the video is what you get. Like, it's
yeah,
not.
yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, there you go.
Slow it down to quarter speed, count some frames, right?
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly. Another question that we have is, will there be a video of the Everybot coming out with cycling with defense, like how it does with defense?
Yeah, we're open to, providing any resource the community thinks is helpful. So we'll consider that when we go to film match cycles of the Everybot, the Kitbot, and the Everybot on the Swerve.
I would like to see three, like those three robots out there, one driven by Brandon, one driven by Ryan, one driven by Jenna, and see who gets the most cycles. That's what I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
see. That's
Oh, I can already tell you that'd be me. We don't even have a
wow,
Wow.
just like that. Just like that. Brandon,
Wow.
were you on the drive team when you were in high school?
Yes, sir, I was. 2013, 2014, I was driving.
Nice. Nice.
Oh,
Ryan,
yeah.
I know you were Ryan back
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2016, 17?
2017. So Ethan drove
2017.
16 and 17. I only drove
Oh,
17.
oh, so
Whenever
Awesome.
you didn't get to drive in Canada then.
I did not get to drive, I didn't even go to Canada. I was a rookie on the
Oh,
team that year.
wow,
Um,
wow.
yeah, when we were filming, we had our base driver from last year driving all the shots, but he drives a Swerve and Everybot, kit chassis. And we were Ethan and I like,
Yeah.
get off the sticks. Let us show you how it's done. We can't drive Swerve at all, but West Coast
We know
Drive,
tank,
kit
right?
chassis, we can do
Oh,
tank.
yeah.
These kids don't even know what it used to be like. That is, I was not, but I'm a quick learner. Jenna thinks she can win that challenge, so that's what she's saying in
Mm.
chat, Brandon. And Brandon's just like, no.
I would love to see you try.
All right, this is going down. This
Wow.
is going down.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we can do like a big show at the practice field at Champs.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. In the
do
true name
something.
of cooperation.
Right. Um, other questions in chat. Wow, we've hit a
Wow.
lot of
We
these.
have.
We talked about the trap. We've talked about lineup. We talked about going under the stage. Can the Everybot do everything? Well, no. Can it intake off the ground? We said no. Okay, so you were on an Everybot, and it's a week one event. What's your goal?
So you have like a full completed Everybot at a competition. I mean, your goal is to just feel successful. Honestly, at the end of the day, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
Success. Jenna posted in your in the first Canada Live a really good breakdown of kind of why we do what we do, and it is success means something different for everybody. Whether that means score a point every match, or that means be contributing to every alliance that you're on. That's what we hope you do week one, right? We hope that your mechanisms work. That's why we build them the way that we do. That's why we give you the resources that we do. And if something doesn't work, hopefully it's easy enough that another team who maybe has built an Everybot knows how to do it, or somebody who has seen it can come over and help. We just, we want you to be successful. And because you have that robot that can do both amp and speaker, you fit into an alliance no matter where you're at. You're contributing no matter what the strategy is.
The flexibility is great. It's preserving flexibility while maintaining simplicity, which is a real challenge in FRC because sometimes to preserve flexibility, teams are like, well, I've got to do everything, but then all of a sudden your simplicity goes out the window. And I think if you would have told me, oh yeah, it's separate mechanisms for speaker and amp, I would be worried about complexity, but it's not, which is really pretty cool right there. We haven't talked about autonomous at all. Autonomous, I think the answer is kind of obvious. Does a preload because you can't, because it's all source loaded, which you can't do in autonomous right there. But oh no, there's other things you can do though, because you could do your preload and then you could just be like, I'm gonna mess up the center line.
Yeah, so we'll have a couple different autonomous routines on the code that's posted online, but primarily, yes, it is shoot your preload, back up. You could shoot from either side of the center of the field. But definitely you could if you want to make your autonomous more advanced, you could drive towards the center and mess up all the center line notes. But yeah, so the kitbot, if you build it with sims, you don't have any sensors really for odometry. It's just time statements. If you put neos in it, then you have the ability to do encoder counts on the motors. But yeah, so since we don't have any additional sensors, the autonomous is pretty limited with the base Everybot.
But and again, teams can always upgrade. There's
Mhm.
definitely if you are still using the sims, but there are definitely places to put an encoder in the kit drivetrain.
Yeah.
There's some natural spots for that. I believe every rookie team got a gyro this year from Studica, so that's something that you can look to toss it on your robot right there for teams who got the gray tote. Well, we've been talking so much about the black tote there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here's a good question. Can the climber reload after a missed attempt?
That's a good question.
Yes, actually, this year it does. You'll notice
Nice.
a severe lack of a ratchet in the mechanism. And the way we did this was, put tension on the other side of a middle point so that, with this robot, you don't have to, get stuck there. If you miss, go ahead and just reverse that motor. The spring will readjust, try again. Now, you got to be careful though, because if you add a bunch of mechanisms to it, we tuned our mechanism for the Everybot that we gave you. So if you add another 40 pounds, it may not work the same way. You might want to add something like a ratchet, which might take away that capability.
Very, very cool. All right, folks, we are running down on time here. Just for our audience, you want to watch that video again, Ryan's going to be posting the link on Chief Delphi shortly, which will also be on the Robotics YouTube channel, I presume, is where it's going to live. Ryan, Brandon, any final words to the community about the Everybot or anything else you want to say, anything else you want to plug, any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, so if any teams need help building their Everybot or their Kitbot, we added a Kitbot channel in our Everybot Discord, and we'd love to help. We have a bunch of people in there, both who have worked on the Everybot itself, and those who have built Everybots in the community several years in a row now, and kind of know where the sticking points are with Everybot builds and kit chassis and things like that. But we'd love to help y'all out there.
And I just want to give a shout out to the people who helped us build this thing, the whole Everybot team. We have individuals from California, Houston locals, some Mez folks up in Michigan, from everywhere. And the change in the time zone and the sleep schedule, and it was a lot to ask for. And I couldn't be more proud of the team that we gathered and what they did this past 10 days.
Yeah, you got a fabulous team there. Shout out Ethan, who's not here with us today. Shout out Jenna. Jenna, you're feeling a little bit under the weather. I mean this when I say it, folks. This has changed the landscape of FRC going back to 2018. There is a kit bot in every kit, which is wild, and you all have something to do with that. And obviously, thank you to the folks at First Headquarters, Colin, your leadership, Chris Rake, who's pushed for these sorts of things, making that happen. But I'm excited. I do a lot of time spend a lot of time doing cycle analysis. Have been doing this for about 20 years or whatever, and like there's been that 8-4-2-1 rule of thumb on cycles or whatever, and it kind of shifted over the last couple of years to like a 10-5-2-1, where the top end got a little bit better at cycling, but the bottom end is still struggles. I think this is the year where I actually might have to do some work before championship when I give my presentation, because I think these numbers are going to actually go up. I really do believe that. And I think the Everybot's been a part of that transition, and the Kitbot's going to be a part of that transition, and it's going to continue this year. So thank you, folks. Thank you for being here. Hey, Quinn, thank you for co-hosting. Hope you had fun.
My pleasure. I had so much fun.
I'm glad. Guess what? We're going to be back here on February 27th. We're going to be celebrating some of our top teams here in Ontario from FLL and FTC provincials. And we'll have some of our FRC referees coming on the show just to give you some insight as we go into competition season. And then we're off to the races. We're going to find out where this crescendo is going to take us. We're going to get ready to see a bunch of Everybots at events in Ontario this year. We're going to get ready to see what all the top teams are doing, the mid teams, every team we're super, super excited for. So thank you everyone for being here. Enjoy your Everybots. What's the Everybot website again, folks?
It is 118everybot.org.
118everybot.org. Check the chief thread. Check it all out. Shout out to Brandon and Ryan. Shout out to the whole team. And folks, we will see you back here on February 27th. Enjoy the rest of the season. Good luck, folks.
Bye, everyone.